Welcome to the Everyday Magic Podcast. I'm Anya Rock.
And I'm Dr. Sofia Trivena.
We've been best friends for 25 years, united by the belief that no matter what life throws at us, we can always find the magic. Join us every week as we dive into our most intimate conversations about sex, money, intuition, and building our company, Sofanya, a merger of our names and the best of us. Welcome back.
Welcome back. It's so exciting. I feel like we have both been on huge adventures since we last got to sit down in person, and we haven't got to share as much as we usually get to. And so I think we should do it now and talk about our last adventures.
Catch each other up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is very much a weaving of our topics, sex, money, and intuition. We're going to cover all three, because they are very entwined, like a braid for each of us on these adventures that you had in Costa Rica and I had in New York.
Yeah.
So who wants to go first? Why don't you go?
You want me to talk about I was in Costa Rica for a pleasure coaching certification retreat. So
break it down. Break it down.
So I'm being certified as a pleasure coach with the iconic woman of pleasure, Mama Gina.
What makes her iconic?
I call her like the OG of pleasure. You know, she has been talking about how the patriarchy is suffocating women from their full expression, and for years, for decades. So she has been in this work and studying. She has something called the School of Womanly Arts, and wrote a book called Pussy. And I've been following her. I may have told you this story already, but I've been following her loosely and took, a master class with her at one point. And was kind of like, I don't really get it. Not for me. But I've stayed on her mailing list. It was kind of like one of those like, oh, I'll read her stuff when it comes in. And got an email a couple months ago, and it was just like an instant yes. I didn't even know why, and I've learned not to question it.
What did your instant yes feel like if you slow that moment down? Because this is intuition.
Yeah. I read the email. It literally said, there's one spot left. Is it yours? And I had a yes. It's mine. Went in. I was like, I think it's me. I'm supposed to do it. And I got on a call. I did all the appropriate check-ins, but it felt like sometimes I'll do the again, a little bit like collapsing or expanding. My version of it is, if I try on not doing this, what does it feel like to not be a part of this? And if I try on doing this, what's available to me?
Absolutely.
What are the feelings?
I remember sitting by the pool when we were called to create Sofanya together, and both of us tried on not doing it, or one of us doing it and the other not doing it. I remember you saying, I can't watch you do this and not be part of it.
Doesn't sound like fun at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, and I think given my life's work, what is being revealed to me as really coming into my story, reclaiming my sexuality, my voice, telling my story, I get it now. I'm like, oh, right, this is why I'm in this work. And because a woman's erotic blueprint, her reclamation of pleasure as her own, is ultimately the stamp out of patriarchy.
Right.
It is the way that we decolonize from patriarchy.
Right.
We reclaim our turn on, our pleasure, our bodies, our voices. It's all a part of it, because we have been told it was shamed, it was demonized. We were told that our bodies, our pleasure were for someone else.
For something else
that were not ours. So anyways, fast forward, retreat. And I've gone on a lot of retreats.
Oh, yes,
you know me. I'm like the retreat queen.
You're like a connoisseur of retreats. And how you've already been meeting up with this group of women in your lingerie, 4 classes with Mama Gina on once
Weekly.
or twice a week?
Yep, twice a week.
For how many weeks?
I don't even remember. It's like an 8-month total program.
Set the stage, right? Yeah. So this isn't just like showing up in the,
right.
on a whim. This is women that have deeply been marinating in each other's awakenings,
right.
Going to Costa Rica, a magical land.
Yes.
When you were packing your suitcase, you said to me, how much is too much lingerie?
Well, and I was going to say about being the retreat connoisseur is that I actually had a little hesitation. I kind of felt a little trepidation of like, what am I going to? Like, what am I getting myself into?
Yeah, it's like Burning Man. It's like, what? This is not just a regular vacation.
I want to also talk about the fact that I, going to another retreat, I was guided to change my flight. I was supposed to go to Mexico, and I was guided in a moment in meditation, I had a download, a moment where I just said, why am I taking this flight? I should take this flight. I always fly United. Why am I not doing that? Like, that feels expansive and easy. And on that flight, so I did change my flight.
I remember, and you said, I should follow the expansiveness, right? Even though I'm going to land at this retreat and miss the first thing, and everyone's telling me I shouldn't miss it, it doesn't feel expansive to do what's the right thing. I feel like I'm supposed to follow this. And I said, definitely follow the expansiveness.
And I was, it's going to inconvenience the retreat coordinator. I'm going to be that person who walks in late. But in every other way, it felt right to me. I was able to get a business class ticket for the same price that I was flying economy on another airline. Booked that ticket, took that flight, and sat beside a woman the whole time. We had an incredible conversation, talking for 4 hours. And I said to her, I'm going to Costa Rica in a couple weeks. And she said, I have a place in Costa Rica. And she's like, and you know what? Someone just handed me this book. I got a tattoo. And the woman who did the art, the ceremony, handed me this book. And she pulled the book out of her bag. And it was Mama Gina's book. And we both looked at each other like, what are the chances?
Right. And you're on your way to Mama Gina's retreat.
I was on my way to Mexico, but I was going to Mama Gina a few weeks later.
So when she said, I have a place in Costa Rica and you're going to be here for this retreat, and I happen to have the book by the woman that's running the retreat,
you were
like,
kind of like, whoa, it's all. Yeah. And she said, why don't I meet you there in Costa Rica when you go? And I was like, oh, okay, like, new friend, sure. And so leading up to this retreat with Mama Gina, she and I had been sending Instagram messages, and she said, okay, I booked at your hotel. And I said, great, I'll change my flight and book as well. So I got there 3 days early and spent 3 days with her, which was lovely and so expansive and lovely to be not only in her company. We have so many shared experiences of newly divorced, being mothers, really setting out on our own path.
I'd never heard you talk in the 25 years I've known you of someone with so many synchronicities of similarity, and that you sat down and talked to for 5 hours the first time you met them. Just never heard that.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like we felt like sisters, right? Like we got in trouble in the, she took a picture in security, and the lady came over and got mad at me and threatened to kick me out of line. And I'm like, I don't know her. I just met her.
And she made it through that laughing?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, good friends.
Yeah. And we're like, okay, we can do anything. We can get through security, right? Yeah. And it was a beautiful, also, I don't usually arrive at retreats before. I've often stayed late, but it was a really lovely way to just like prepare for this big, expansive experience. And she is now an investor in Sofanya.
She is now paperwork signed, part of the Goddess Council, meeting on the new moon and full moon at our, investor circle retreats with the angels on.
And it couldn't feel more perfect.
Yes.
And like, it was one of those stories that as I told it and thought about it, I was like, wow, this is incredible. And such an important, like, just a moment in time to go like, this is why we do this work, to listen to our intuition, to follow the guidance.
Absolutely. How in the world could you have ever met this woman if you didn't follow intuition when it went against the rational?
Yeah.
But we both were like, it feels expensive, and you followed it. If that is the everyday magic.
Yeah.
It's putting you in the current of life where all the resources are. Like, nature's doing that.
Yeah.
Without minds or rational, all the animals are finding the water and finding the mates and making more animals, and it's all beautiful.
And we have been, as we've been curating this Goddess Council of investors and knowing that each one is seeding at the right moment for the right purpose and alignment, and being in full trust, even in moments where we're like, we're like, it's going to happen. And we both had just said, we want someone who just looks at this, knows us, and says, this is what I've been waiting for. And that is what happened.
It's exactly what happened. It's like, we weren't just looking for her. She was also looking for us.
Yeah.
It was just a perfect match.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Yeah. So like before I even started the retreat, it was like a full experience of just that gorgeous, glorious connection and recognition of trusting my own intuition and watching where it took me.
I'm sorry, I'm just flashing to something because we're here in like West Hollywood and I've been meeting a lot of people in the industry, which is new to me as a scientist and professor, et cetera. But people keep telling me over and over, a good plot in a movie or in a script is where like by the second act, you don't think it's all going to happen. It's going to fall apart. But then somehow miraculously by the end, it all ties up. And I'm like, that's actually doesn't need to be fiction. That's life if you go with intuition because every single time you're just like, this is irrational. This is never going to result in anything. We're never going to have the money we need when we need it, when it's time to pay for that thing. And then every single time it does, and we look at all the dots and there's something viscerally so beautiful about it when it happens. And it's the same feeling you have at the end of the movie when it's like, and then it all wraps together. But it makes you know that we're not alone and we're supported. And it's not just the beauty of the story resolving.
Yeah.
It's that trust is real and I can trust it again.
Yeah. And we all have those pings. We all have those moments. And then we also have the override of, that's going to be inconvenient. I shouldn't. And many times we go with that.
Yes.
So that's why for me, I was like really highlighting that moment for myself. So I'm in Costa Rica. I'm having this beautiful experience with my new friend. And again, even before the retreat starts, there's an invitation to have what's called a sensual session with Mama Gina's partner. And there's really no information given on what a sensual session means.
This is what I've been waiting for.
So I have to.
I've been waiting for this for days.
So I have to tune in. I have to tune in to, is it a yes or a no? With very little information.
Like moving planes and missing the beginning of the last retreat.
This is the practice that I'm in now in the Sofanya flow of life, in the everyday magic.
Yes.
Is what do I feel? Is it a yes or a no? So
your clothes are falling off as you start to talk about this.
It's getting hot in here.
I mean, I don't know where this is going, but your clothes are removing themselves.
Well, my clothes were definitely off for this experience.
Tell me more. I've been waiting.
So I've decided I'm a yes.
Okay.
And I booked the appointment and I arrive in Costa Rica and I get my period the night I arrive. And I'm like, okay. Well, and I don't really know anything about this session still, but I'm like, start asking the other sister goddesses about it. So we call each other sister goddess. I start asking, so-and-so did it last year. I'm like, okay, tell me everything. What do I need to know? Should I cancel because I have my period? I don't feel great, but I think I'll be okay. And one of the sister goddesses gives me like a 10-part bullet point, like, here's what to expect. And I'm like, okay, great. I know what's going to happen. And I message him and I say, I got my period yesterday. I just want to check in with you. And he's like, no, as long as you feel good, like, I'm okay. It'll be great. Keep the session. So again, just like, and I want to say that
there is a man for every woman. If there's ever a moment that I knew that there is a man for every woman, no matter what she's about, there is a counterpart, isn't there?
Right.
Okay, I'm taking that away.
Okay,
keep going.
I also just want to sort of preface this with going into, I would say even this whole year, and certainly this experience was, I'm going to come up against edges and I'm here for the experience. I want to honor if something feels like a no and I need to leave, but I also want to notice the edges and I want to press into them. And I just want to be open to new experiences. Just preface with that. So
noted.
He arrives at my room.
And by he, this is an older man who is married to Mama Gina.
Not married. They're just partners.
Okay.
They've been partners for 8 years.
Okay.
Yep. She is not in the patriarchal prison of marriage.
Smart woman.
Yeah. So they've been partners and he is trained in extended massive orgasm. Didn't know that was a thing.
Great. Extended massive emo. Okay, got it.
So essentially the session is we sit down, we talk about my history, trauma, boundaries. Do I have any questions? I had a few. And then
what were the questions?
Really just like, can you give me like, I got a 10-part bullet point from someone else, but can you give me like the what to expect?
You really wanted the context. Okay.
Yeah, I want the context.
Okay.
Anyway, so the experience is, and we did a lot around consent. And he said, I'm going to ask you if it's okay. Like, for example, may I touch your left shoulder? And I'd like you to answer from your mind and then also from your pussy for each body
Whoa.
part.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. And we're
Got
just
it.
sitting like this
Okay.
in
Got it. Got
chairs
it.
across.
This is good. I love this for you because you never got that in your first experience because you were so young.
Right.
Right. This is good. I like this.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes. And that was an aha we had later was like, you know, I don't think she's used to being asked.
Oh,
Yeah. It was kind of a revelation.
I like this for you.
So we go through each body part and there were some no's or some maybes. And he said, well, maybe is a no in this world. And so that's great.
In this world.
In this work.
In this work.
Yeah. A maybe is a no.
Okay. And
in the context of our container,
Yep.
a maybe is a no.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And an intimacy exploration.
Yep.
Okay. Got it.
So that was the first part. And then we stood up and did some eye gazing and opened a container, called in our guides, and asked for that this work be for the benefit of both of us and everyone we're connected to. And then I was invited to lie on the bed and have my lube handy, of course. And he positions himself basically like on a pillow and like with full access to my pussy, and spent the next hour exploring sensations at the most like slow and spacious pace.
Oh, beautiful.
And the first exercise was probably the most interesting because it was like he'd say, I'm going to take my finger, and he was wearing gloves and I had lube.
And he had clothes on.
Yep. Fully clothed.
Did it feel like being with a doctor? Did it feel like being...
A little bit, the first time especially. So I actually ended up doing 4 of these sessions.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So I'll tell you why in a minute.
I mean, I think I'm already understanding why, but tell me more.
So the first session, I feel like there was a little apprehension, a little, he's a total stranger. This is all new. There's a little bit of that apprehension. But the first exercise is like, for example, he's like, I'm going to move from top to bottom and I'm going to go slowly. And I'd like you to tell me if I stop or change direction.
Ooh, your dress is falling off again. I mean, I love this.
Which just brings you so fully from mind into body.
Okay. So
full presence.
He's moving his finger and you are simply deciding whether you want him to continue.
No, I just have to tell him.
Oh.
So it's purely...
He's responding to your direction now.
Nope. I am just... for example, he would like go slowly and stop. And I'd say, you've stopped, you've paused. And he'd say, thank you. And then he would move his finger. I'd go, oh, you changed direction. It's just bringing all of your awareness to the sensation.
I love this.
Out of your mind and fully in your body.
I love this.
Which brings, it's a meditation. Can I be completely with my breath?
Yes.
Can I be completely, there's no like, oh, did I do the laundry? Did I close? It's like, I am just with this sensation.
Yes.
Which also lets you know, interestingly, I have less sensation on the right side, or it's harder for me to notice that sensation. Or when I'm not aroused at all, like it feels like this. And then he would say, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being nothing and 10 being climax, what is the level of sensation? And I would say in session 1, I got to a 2.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, great. We wrap it up.
Yeah.
Close the container. And I'm like, I wonder. I go to meet my new friend down at the beach for dinner. She's been at a massage. She got a 2-hour Thai massage. I got a 75-minute pussy swiping. We're like, let's exchange notes. And I'm like curious because what's coming up for me is I'm wondering, and I was actually wondering if anything would come up like shame or any kind of feeling about like what I did was not okay or dirty. Like I just was watching for it. And I told him that. I'm like, I'm really curious to see what comes up, what stories come up. And none of them did.
I'm so happy for you for that.
Yeah,
that's
really
great.
beautiful.
That's beautiful. I'm so happy to hear this.
Yeah, really beautiful. I felt really like liberated and sovereign and like, yeah, I did that and it felt good and it was like mine to do. And, you know, some of the women were also talking about like how they had to tell their partner they did it and what the partner felt about it. And I was like, nope, I don't have to tell anyone.
Right.
It's just me.
Right.
This is purely for me. Nobody, I don't have permission needed from anybody.
I love this.
And my curiosity, however, was in if I was at a 2, where is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8?
Well, this I am not surprised about, Miss On Your Rock. There is zero chance that she's going to get a 2 and walk away from the table in anything.
Right.
Zero chance.
And the notion being like climax is when you go over the waterfall.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all this area before where we can play at the edge of the waterfall and come back.
I love the edge and back.
Which I know conceptually, but have never experienced.
Whoa. What? Whoa. What?
Yeah.
Never?
Never. I mean, well, not never. But not as a practice.
Oh, I would say if you were to sum up my practice,
right,
that would be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of my experience in the realm of sexuality has been around getting from A to Z. And a certain amount of enjoyment, some performance, ultimately enduring some parts, like just right getting.
By the way,
there's a lot of that happening in partnership, and he addressed it. We talked about it about like the focus on ejaculation, the focus on orgasm or climax, like everyone's sort of trying to get there, but then there's nowhere to go from there.
And especially within a role, because you're in a marriage and most relationships, it's expected that this is a huge part of it. And yet you're having children, you're really busy. And so it comes a time where it's just like, the reason I say this is the research. I mean, the percentage of people that say that they endure or have pain or swallow how they really feel or their desires have no touch of them is majority in all categories, in every age group and every, So what you're talking about, I would say, is the majority of experiences.
Yeah. And so I texted him and I said, that was great. And here's where my curiosity is. And I'm wondering, it never occurred to me I could do multiple sessions over the week in Costa Rica. And one of the women at dinner was like, oh, I know someone last year did 5 sessions in the 5 days she was here. And I was like, this is brilliant.
Revelation.
So
no wonder I came early.
I know. I was like, great. It's only Tuesday. I mean, all week.
I came early to learn how to not come early.
Yes. So we were like, great, let's do more sessions. So I had 4, and I'm happy to report back that I did experience an 8 and just really felt so grounded, and so I really truly reclaimed a part of the sovereignty of my pleasure. I had a couple of realizations. We talked about how to do this in partnership. I had a moment after one of the sessions where I really realized I do want a sacred partner. I really do want to be in pleasure with someone.
Absolute pinnacle. Yeah. I feel absolute pinnacle.
And I would say, even listening back on our episodes before, and I have not been sure up until now.
Sure. I listened to that episode. Yeah. And I was like, are we sure? Are we sure we're not? We really don't want that. Yeah.
But whether it's a pleasure partner, a lover, there's someone that I want to be in my pleasure with.
That's so well said.
Yeah.
I like pleasure partner. It's different than a journey mate, because I've always said the journey mate is someone that's really, really sacred, who's perfect for this leg of the journey, and your needs are in co-creation with each other without compromise.
Right.
And it doesn't have the usual entitlements or expectations or performance. It's literally truly amplifying each other's experience. And that's one thing, but I kind of like this pleasure partner. Tell me more about what that means to you.
Yeah.
You're taking us to a new level, goddess.
Yeah. One of the sort of ground foundations of Mama Gina's work is that when we are, as women, when we are in our pleasure, when we are in our turn on, when we can cultivate this energy, one of the things that we did, as a side note, one of the things we did in the session was he would take his hands away and have me work with the energy. Can you move the energy up or down? Where is it? Is it going into your chest? Is it going down your legs? Can you work with that energy even though my hand isn't there? And I was able to do that. And so this turn on, this orgasmic energy is Mama Gina's work is all about. Like when we can cultivate that, when we can harness that energy, we can magnetize anything we want in life. That is our power, right? The goddess culture celebrated the woman as the portal to creative energy. Goddess culture celebrated the pussy, the vulva, right? It was the protector. It was the symbol of the creative, the power, the possibility. And when we take away the 12,000 years where we've been told to give our power away, to not be in our pleasure, when we reclaim that, we really step into a whole new ascension. A goddess
ascension.
Sounds like a goddess ascension ceremony.
Let's do it.
It really felt like I went through a portal for myself of coming out of the last 18 years, maybe a lifetime, and knowing my body in a way I didn't know it, knowing like the mapping of my pleasure and how to be so in tune with it. And this invitation that there'd be a partner out there, there'd be somebody that could come and pussy worship, would be delighted. And actually it was interesting because the universe always gives us little, so I went on the field in Costa Rica, which is not a bad idea. There was actually lots of eligible men.
On the dating app, the field.
On the dating app. Go on, right, not just the field, but the actual field. I go on the dating app and I'm like, I wonder, and there's this person and we start messaging and instantly he said something like a little crass and I was kind of like, oh no. I was like, that is not.
This is not,
we're not doing a hookup. Like
the saddest thing for me is when it falls from sacredness just because it's short or it's.
Yeah. It was again, just, oh no, that's not for me. Right. What I really want is this. I'm going to hold out for this vibration.
Quick pivot.
And I just, quickly told him it's not going to work out. Thanks, but no thanks. And the pleasure partner that I'm calling in is someone who just wants to be in pleasure with me and spend time as a lover, like in the time that we carve out, whether that's when I'm in Hollywood or twice a week when I'm in Hollywood, or however we carve it out, to help me to be in the level of that energy of my turn on. Because
Brava.
Look out, world. Like
she's lit up. And she's ready to take it further.
The rocket ships, and this is the fuel.
That's right. I have said that the union is the sacred fire that fuels the rest of life. Mm-hmm. And if someone doesn't want to be in a union with me, then I'm going to do it on my own and self-pleasuring because it is the sacred fire that fuels all life. Mm-hmm. And I will not douse it or diminish it or feel bad about it. And I do need to express it and experience in a very sacred way. Mm-hmm. And sacred to me is not about time or roles or definitions. Sacred is about, it feels sacred. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
That was all before the retreat even started. Right. And the retreat was magical and beautiful and sacred and a really exquisite, there were edges, but it was a really exquisite exploration of sisterhood, sensuality, pleasure, sacred intimacy with other women, how, as we were doing one of the sacred ceremonies, I saw so clearly maybe a past life where I was in a river with other women, like washing each other's hair. We were naked, right? Bathing, all generations.
Oh, I love that.
This normalization of the beauty of each other's bodies.
Oh, I love this.
Of being in pleasure and sensuality with each other and listening for and noticing the like, where was I told this was wrong?
Yeah.
Where is that overlay, again, of someone saying we only do this in this context with these people?
Right.
And anything else is wrong or bad. And how do we separate sexual from sensual?
Right.
And how do we just really be in the ecstasy and the beauty of our sisters and our...
As in you can be sensual with your sisters and it doesn't have to be sexual. You can be like washing their breasts and it's perfectly beautiful.
Yep. Right. Yeah. And it was, anyway, it was magical and beautiful. And really an expansive, affirming,
Aw.
gorgeous weekend in a beautiful place in Costa Rica, on the water,
Being
in
your
the new
nature
moon.
in nature.
In the new moon.
And it's not even full moon. So
Yeah.
this is just like not even, 2 weeks
Right.
ago. It's the first time I've seen you and hearing these stories.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it was really beautiful and sacred, and really, I will remember it. Yeah, it was really, really beautiful. And I knew, one of the most profound moments I had was feeling, I wish that my daughter, who's coming into her own body and sexuality, I said, and we do reflections, and we have this practice in the container in the program of framing something, like, and just sort of reflecting back how that was received or expansive or acknowledged. And I said, I just had this moment where I really wish my daughter could have a coming of age ceremony where she could see the beauty of her body, have other women look at her body, look at her pussy and say, she's beautiful, right? Mama Gina always says, like, the pussy wants to be the star of the show. She wants to be complimented.
Wow.
She will come alive. She will blush. Color will come to her as someone gazes and tells her how beautiful she is.
Wow. Love it.
And so that was kind of like, I'm not sure that will happen, nor do I need it to in that context, but it was just this desire. And not even a week later, I had the most beautiful conversation with my daughter about sex and first time. And the only thing I'll share about the conversation, which I think was actually the most important, is I shared with her the things I'm learning now about pleasure at 47 years old. I wish I'd known at your age.
I wish that for her and for everyone.
And I want her and those girls to know themselves and their beauty and their sacredness.
Yes.
And that it be celebrated, and that she take her time, and that she only let in a boy who wants to know how to worship her and how to give her pleasure. And that first she can learn to bring herself pleasure. She can learn her body.
Yes.
And that it's normal, it's beautiful, it's sacred, it's something that's a rite of passage as a woman and a young man, right? That my son will also have. The normalization of our pleasure.
Yes. May it be so for all.
May it be so.
Yes.
Better and wetter, as we say in the...
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I just felt in that moment like, oh, this is why I'm in this work. This is why I'm on this path, is because, my trauma, my wounding took me out of that. And I got to share with her in that moment, late at night about my experience, and we'd never had those conversations. And it was really beautiful. And I just felt
beautiful.
It's so important. And there are women walking around that just were so disconnected from this power, this sacred feeling of our own pleasure, our own bodies. And if I can give them even one permission and remind them of what I've discovered, and that they have access to that too.
Yes.
Then I will be fulfilled and know my work.
Yay.
Yes.
I love this. I'm so happy for you. Yes, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So what happens next?
Well, I complete the certification, and I'm already bringing this work into my work. I'm going to keep working with Mama Gina and just continue inviting this pleasure, inviting this vibration, this frequency, this exploration and awareness, and like normal. It's like, even the word normalization, like, how is that ever not?
It's just going back to its natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
like really going back to its natural.
So natural.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree. This is
So,
wonderful. Yay. I'm so happy for you.
It was really beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, if we weren't recording this right now, I would say, like, do you want to do a ceremony right now in this moment of what you want to call in for your pleasure partner? It feels like you're it doesn't have to be this moment, but you're ready to crystallize that North Star, that calling. Like, I just feel guided by the angels to like invite you to feel into the future self that's fulfilled by this pleasure partner. Like, can you bring yourself forward to that field knowing that there's no such thing as time and space that limits us really, and that there's a consciousness field in the future where you are cup overflowing fulfilled with this pleasure partner? Like when you're there and you bring yourself there, what are you feeling? What are you knowing?
Pussy gets excited. She's like, yes, please. Really interesting, because even from session 1 to session 4, when we would do the like, may I touch your right shoulder?
Yeah.
My mind says yes. My pussy says yes.
Yeah.
Right. May I touch your stomach? My mind says yes. My pussy says yes. And by like session 4, pussy was like, oh, we're doing this again? Amazing. Just like a coming alive feeling. She's like, oh, I really like this. Am I going to be the star of the show today?
So that's what you would feel like. She's the star of the show.
Yeah.
There's a reaching and excitement and expansion.
There is a constant connection between heart, pussy, sacred sexuality, creativity, that there's just like a constant flow of this erotic blueprint that is mine, just like a fingerprint. It's completely mine, and I have sovereignty. I have intimacy with it. I know how to use my voice and ask for what I want. I can be in relation, in sacred discovery with another person who is like, I can't believe that I get to spend time worshiping you and being worshipped by you and be in the sacred union.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. May it be so.
And
it's locked in. So. It's locked in. Great.
Yeah.
Yay.
Lock crystal.
Lock crystal. I'm excited for you.
Very beautiful and epic Costa Rica experience.
I love it. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. And I celebrate this, you know.
Yeah.
I actually was in a deep best friendshipness with someone, you know, just a few years back. And we both talked like this and celebrated this. And we'd both studied a lot of this and lived this way. And when I met someone to have that journey with and she didn't, it unraveled the friendship. And I just want you to know, like, let's say you disappeared for weeks into this journey and I never heard from you.
Don't worry, we're business married. I'm not going anywhere.
Only celebration. I'll run the business for you.
Oh, sweet.
Only celebration. Yeah. Only celebration.
Thanks, goddess.
Yeah. That's what I love is like, we both prioritize intimacy with men and our intimacy with, you know, any way that we want to have it, actually.
Yeah.
And so I just love that there is this deep intimacy that we have as friends and complete space to explore other intimacy in any way you want to, with no judgment or need or clinginess or disappointment or missing. I've actually not had it with a ton of women that can handle that. Can be like, oh, we're so deep in each other's every day, and now you have to disappear for a few days for a sexual journey without like, what about me sort of thing. And I just want to name that I feel like part of the sisterhood needs to be celebrating when you're not with the sisterhood. It's like, go off and be not with the sisterhood.
Right.
Because you can't, the sisterhood can't go into every room. And sometimes you have to go into a room and shut the door. And I celebrate it.
Thanks for being on the journey with us. We'd love to have you as part of the ongoing conversation. Join us on our socials at Sofanya Beauty and join our email community at sofanyabeauty.com. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.